Hey, I'm Becca with the Happy Ever Crafter, and in this video I'm going to show you 4 super common calligraphy mistakes and exactly how you can fix them. Okay, so jumping right in, mistake number 1 is using the wrong tools. So in modern calligraphy, you need to make sure you have a flexible tool. And if your tool is not flexible, you're not going to be able to do modern calligraphy. So what I see commonly is people go into an art store and they look for the calligraphy section, and you're often going to find pens that look like this one. So if you take the tip off, you can see that it's chiseled, and so it's flat on the top, and that is not what we want for modern calligraphy. So with this one, it's not flexible. All you're going to do for this one to get the thin and the thick lines that you want in calligraphy is move your hand in a different direction. So you have to actually maneuver your hand differently, so you get those thins and those thicks. Whereas with brush pens or flexible pens, like this Tombow FUDENOSUKE or this Tombow dual tip pen, all you're doing with these ones is changing the pressure that you put on the pen. So these are flexible tools. You're not moving your hand in different directions, you're just changing the pressure on the pen. So you can still get those thins and those thicks, but you don't have to change the angle of your hand. So that's tip number 1. Make sure you're using the right tools. And it doesn't have to be brush pens. It could be paint brushes or anything that's flexible on the tip. So even pointed pens, which are the traditional nib and ink, you just want to make sure that you're using a pointed one that actually flexes when you push on it versus a chisel tip nib. Mistake number 2 is holding your pen wrong. So I see a lot of people holding their pen at the wrong angle to the page. So either their hand is too upright or too angled down, or it's at the wrong angle relative to the page. So when I say that, what I mean is you should actually have your hand at about a 45-degree angle to the page. So the pen should be at about a 45. And you want to make sure that your pen is perpendicular to the page. So if my hand is down here and my pen is parallel to my page and I try and get a thick downstroke, I'm going to have a really hard time doing that. So what you actually want to do is make sure your pen is perpendicular to the page, and then when you add the pressure, you'll be able to get more of the belly of the brush. So about a 45 to the page and perpendicular to your paper. That's how you should be holding your pen. Mistake number 3 is just going too fast. So in calligraphy, it's really, really important to go nice and slow, and that allows you to get nice transitions from your thick lines to your thin lines. So one of the things I commonly see people do is, say we're doing a compound curve, for example, which is one of the calligraphy basic strokes you should know. I often see people doing a nice slow upstroke and then really fast downstroke and then a nice slow upstroke again, and it gets messy. I'll also see the same thing on ovals. They'll go nice and slow and then really fast and then nice and slow again. And that often makes you kind of screw up, forget what you're doing, and forget about the nice, slow, gradual transitions. So make sure you're going nice and slow. So if I were to demonstrate that in a word, it's going to be hard for me to do this because I have so much muscle memory to do it nice and slow. But say I was going to write the word hello. So my transitions are messy, my sizing is messy, I lifted my pen in a weird spot, and it just didn't go well overall. Whereas if I were to do this nice and slow, and let's be clear, if I was going to write this nicely in calligraphy, I'm always using a guideline. This is just blank paper because I'm trying to demonstrate quickly, but you should always be using guidelines. If I were to do it nice and slow, this is about the realistic speed I would be going. So my speed doesn't change depending on an upstroke or a downstroke. My speed stays the same the whole way through. And the last mistake, number 4, is not using the calligraphy basic strokes. So if you're listening to this video and you've never heard of the basic strokes, you need to go back to step 0. So make sure you watch this video up here where I show you exactly how to do them all. But basically the difference between using calligraphy basic strokes or just adding pressures would be kind of like the difference of just doing cursive writing versus calligraphy. And a lot of people don't realize that those are different, but they are. So in calligraphy, everything is broken down into pieces. And so if you were to use those pieces and write the letter H, for example, it would look like this. So an upstroke is one piece and you lift your hand off the page, and then your ascending loop is another piece, and then you lift your hand off the page, and then you do a compound curve and lift your hand off the page. And so this is really a nice and consistent H, and you'll see each of these strokes repeating in different letters. And so the more consistent you can be with using those strokes, the more consistent your whole alphabet will look. Versus if you were to just do a cursive H and add your pressures, it would probably look something like this, which is totally different than this. And so the more you can attempt to break those habits and use the basic strokes instead, the more you'll be happy with your alphabet. So if you're not using the basic strokes, again, go back to step 0, make sure you've gone over those. I have lots of resources for that, and I think you'll see a huge improvement in your calligraphy. So let me know in the comments below if you were guilty of any of those mistakes. I'd love to hear from you. And if you found this video helpful and you want to keep going with your calligraphy, make sure you check out this video where I'm showing you exactly how to do calligraphy with something as simple as a Sharpie marker. And I'll see you next time.